Chapter 2. The sizzle of meat frying fills his ears, and the smell of burning flesh fills the room, burrowing deeply into his nasal cavity. Taking each step slowly as he moves downward toward the origin of that which has detained his senses, he craves the taste of that which he smells. Creeping slowly toward the beautiful aroma, he digs the excess water from within his ear canal. His head drooping downward, drenched hair covering the majority of his face, only allowing his jawline to remain visible, he clenches his teeth as he finally arrives at his destination, ready to feed. "Good morning, Jeremy. You hungry?" his mother asks him as he wanders over the cold black and white checker-patterned linoleum floor of his kitchen. He doesn't answer, only stares deep into the black and white squares below his feet as he steps slowly toward the worn, tan wooden table in the middle of the overlit room. Jeremy can barely open his eyes as the light of the morning sun compounds with the high wattage bulbs and attack his retina this early in the day. His mother looks at him frowning as he sits with his head down and wet hair sitting on his arms, covering his face completely. Jeremy reaches back over his shoulder and pulls the hood of his black sweatshirt over his head, allowing only the tips of his hair to be visible. "It's your first day back to school," his mother continues. "So I decided to make bacon, scrambled eggs, and toast. Just what you need to have a great first day back," she announces with a weak, visibly forced smile on her face. She tries masking the obvious pain just beneath the surface. However, Jeremy is not buying any of it at all. Jeremy doesn't answer. He doesn't even move. So she just turns back to her cooking, sticking the plastic spatula under the 4 pieces of sizzling bacon, flipping them with one quick motion. The sizzle increases. Jeremy knows it won't be long before they are a black and inedible mess within the pan. His mother is, and has always been, a horrible cook. His father had always joked that if their stove were not electric, she would have set their house ablaze 1,000 times over. Searching around the kitchen, Jeremy notices something odd about the door leading outside, near the base of the stairs in the front room of the house. There is no wall separating that room and the kitchen in which Jeremy currently sits. The deadbolt that holds the door locked in place has its small oval handle perpendicular to the wall. This means that it is not locked. Jeremy hates when his mother forgets to lock the doors to the house. This makes him feel more uneasy than he normally does. He stands up abruptly and hastily steps over to the door. With a loud huff, he turns the deadbolt to lock it with great force. "I'm sorry," his mother apologizes. "I must have forgotten to lock it when I came in last night," she continues while fiddling around with the breakfast again. This time she pushes the eggs around a pan a little. They're sticking to all sides and are very unevenly cooked, with one side burned and the other nearly raw. The delicious smell of cooking food is fading fast as a strong scent of smoke begins to expand throughout the house. She seems to remain unfazed by this development. Jeremy walks back toward the table, and on his way, he reaches out to grab a gray remote with black buttons from one of the 3 kitchen countertops around the room. This is the one that houses the sink and connects at a corner with the one that houses the oven. Sitting back in his seat, he points it to the small tube television of matching colors on the edge of the counter, only a few feet to the left of where his mother is busy at work cooking breakfast across the kitchen. It is a rather old television, which takes a couple of seconds to start up and get to work. The picture slowly fades in, followed in a couple of seconds by the sound finally syncing up. Jeremy tries to listen, but the sound is too low to make out the words. Removing his hood, he brushes his hair to the side with his fingers to get a better view of the screen. When the picture finally comes into focus, a special report scrolls across the screen as the anchorman's mouth moves with a sullen look upon his face. Jimmy points the remote at the television with crinkled brow, and holds the volume up button until he and his mother can finally hear what it is that is being reported. And he was still yet to be found. So, if anyone out there has seen Dr. Stephen Donis, please contact the station or your local police department. Jeremy and his mother hear the anchor finish his report. They keep watching the scroll along the bottom, waiting to find more information on the subject. When it reaches the beginning, they begin to read. Last night, Dr. Stephen Donis disappeared from his home. His wife woke up this morning with her husband missing from their house. His car remains in the garage, his shoes by the front door, and traces of blood, yet to be analyzed, have been found in his home office and front room leading outside. Jeremy and his mother stare at one another for a moment before his mother finally finds the need to speak and break this silence. "Oh my God, that poor man," she speaks softly and sincerely, taking her eyes from the television and starting to move the bacon around, but not truly focusing on her cooking anymore. Not that that was in the forefront of her mind from the beginning. If she were, she would be able to tell that the bacon is 3 phases past well done, and the eggs have long since been okay to serve. "I sure hope he's okay," she continues on. "Whatever," Jeremy replies. "Screw him." Jeremy spouts out to the shock of his mother. She turns toward her son with surprise and worry on her face. Crinkling her brow in confusion, she scolds her son. "What are you talking about? How can you be so unsympathetic?" She begins again. "That man tried to help your—" She is cut short. "I don't care what happens to him. It's his fault Dad's dead," Jeremy shouts as he powers down the television and stands up to walk away. His mother walks from the stove top, leaving the already ruined food alone on the hot coils. She hurries behind him and places her hand on Jeremy's shoulder, stopping him from leaving the room. "You can't blame him for what happened to your father," she states firmly, lacking the gentle touch she should have had when talking on this particular subject. "Your dad had problems, and Dr. Donis did all he could to help," she tries to explain to Jeremy, as he shakes loose of her hand and begins to walk away. "He did all—" She is cut short once again. "No! Dad went to him for help, and he failed him." Jeremy looks back at her. "That bastard deserves whatever happens to him," Jeremy shouts back as he reaches down near the couch in the adjoining family room and grabs his book bag. He makes his way quickly across the room to the front door. "Jeremy, nothing that happened was anybody's fault but your father's," his mother states, almost screaming. "Dr. Donis didn't kill him." She pauses for a moment. "He did that himself," is what Jeremy hears after he unlocks the deadbolt, and as he touches the knob on the front door. He stops for a second, paused with hatred, and gripped with fury. He then tries to turn the knob, but it won't open. Sure, she locks this part of the door, he thinks as he pulls the keys from his pocket, unlocks the 2-sided key lock, turns the handle, and walks out of the door and into the daylight. His mother stands in the kitchen, covering her mouth with eyes wide and filling with tears. She cannot believe the words she had just shouted at her son. Smoke begins to surround her as she turns to the stove behind once again. She sees blackened bacon and eggs sitting on the stove top. She quickly grabs both pans and tosses them into the sink to her left. She quickly turns on the faucet and steam mixes with the smoke in the air. "Damn it!" she cries out. She covers her face as she falls to her knees on the kitchen floor. Tears continue to flood her eyes, and she wishes she could relay to him how much she was hurting as well. However, she feels she must remain strong no matter what happens. Looking at everything all around their lonely kitchen, she sucks back the tears, knowing that she is all he has left now. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying the story and how it's going, please subscribe so you can get every chapter as it comes through. Discuss in the comments plot threads, and where you think the story's going. Share with anybody you think might find it interesting. Until then, I'll see you next video.